afternoon, everyone. We have Manager Bud Black here. We'll get started with today's pregame win pick rope.
Hey, buddy, one second here. Sorry.
Sorry, Nick, quick turnaround.
Okay, I got you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound clear.
Yeah, awesome.
Sound like you're next door.
Or upstairs in this case.
Sound like you're upstairs.
Yeah. You know, I don't. First of all, what is your reaction to Billschmidt being named the general manager, and then how much input did you have in the process?
Well, I'm excited for Billy. You know, on a number of different levels. You know, I think that you know, Billy's been a long time baseball man. You know, he's worn a couple different hats. You know, you know, for most of his tenure in professional baseball. With us, it's been on the scouting side, but you go a little deeper into early Billschmidt, you can see that there's a wide range of roles that he's filled in this game, even before professional baseball. So I'm excited for him, and I'm excited because he's passionate about this challenge ahead of him, and you can see the excitement, you know, in his face, in his actions. You know, he's dove into this over the last 3.5, 4 months with you know, a great deal of energy. And I know that those of us who have been around him, and he's been around us a lot. He's been around the big league team a lot, you know, gauging what we have going on, our players, our coaches, our trainers, our strength guys, everybody, you know, and he's done it in a great manner that has made all of us, you know, appreciate him as a person and as a baseball man and as a leader. So that's my reaction to this, that I'm excited for him because he's excited. And it's great to see, you know, that type of attitude about a new role. It's awesome.
Did Dick or Greg ask you specifically for your input on
No,
him?
I mean, you know, early on, meaning, you know, when there was, you know, quite a change above us, right? You know, when the front office sort of shifted, you know, from the time Jeff left and a couple other fellows in our front office, you know, Dick and I would, you know, we'd talk about the team, but, you know, I was, you know, not informed of what Dick was thinking or what Greg was thinking. You know, that's their department. You know, that, you know, obviously was a decision that they were going to make. And I wasn't really asked specifically on, you know, any candidates or, you know, my thoughts on that. But, you know, but when Billy was, and like I said, Billy was around a lot. I mean, he still is, right? He's obviously here with us in Phoenix, and he's been with us most of the time, you know, the last few months. But, you know, I think, you know, Dick and Greg, again, I'm not sure their, you know, everyday responsibilities and what they were thinking about through, you know, the late spring through the summer to where we are now. You know, I think they knew the process they were going to go through, and they did it together. And, you know, whatever, you know, outside people they counseled or internal people they counseled, you know, I wasn't a big part of that.
Gotcha. And one more, buddy, this is not meant to malign anyone around the league, but the way of the game, it seems like over the last, you know, how many ever years, 10 years or whatever, has been to sort of empower the general manager, empower the roster builder, and that the process in a lot of ways kind of is, you know, hello manager, here is what you have to work with. How comfortable are you though asking for what you need from from Billy, and I mean, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like it's that you're able to just say, like, Billy, here's what I need, and he's
Yeah.
can fill it?
Well, again, I think if, Nick, if you go to all 30 teams, there's a different dynamic of how, to your point about roster construction or roster building, how that takes place. And, we could go team by team. And I'm sure Tony La Russa, his input with, Jerry Reinsdorf, Kenny Williams, Rick Hahn is different than maybe somebody else. But I do know this, that you'll find that the organization's desire, this is the Rockies' desire, and I think all 30 other teams, is that, that owner, president, general, whatever the titles are, owner, team president, baseball operations, general manager, what like I said, whatever those are, down to the manager, it's a pretty linear path of communication, collaboration, creative thinking, baseball discussion, all that I think takes place and everywhere. But the better that is, I think the more successful the team will be. And, my communication with Billy is very strong. I've known Billy since, the mid 90s when we worked together in Cleveland. We crossed paths when I retired as a player, and we did some stuff with the Indians for their general manager on the scouting side. So I've known Billy for over 25 years, and we've worked together. We've sat in the stands and scouted together. We've talked baseball as far back as the mid 90s when we worked together, like I mentioned. And now, again, when I got this job, obviously I crossed paths with Billy up in the offices during the winter, during the season, during spring training. If he was in, watching some players in Arizona, and he'd pop over to the complex. So, our communication's been great. And I know that his communication with, a lot of the people who've been here over the years, Doogie, Giddy, Stu, Gabe and Jack. I mean, he knows everybody, and he's very personable. And I think he's been very open-minded to, whether it's advice, opinions. He likes to talk baseball. I mean, that's the beauty of Billy. He's very passionate about this game, and he likes to talk about it in whatever fashion it might be, whether it's breaking down a player or player development or scouting or, front office structure. I mean, we've talked about all that stuff, and it's been very, very open and very easy to talk to. I mean, he's very personable and easy to talk to. So in that regard, it's been great.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Thomas Harding.
Yeah, buddy, as long as you've been in the game, you've seen a lot of situations where changes were made during the season. I think you were in San Diego when they let go Josh Burns. Watching how Billy has pulled the group together, I mean, is that unique here? Did you feel like what he was able to do when you guys could have splintered and gone in different directions, how big was that for keeping things together with the organization?
Well, again, I think, Billy came in, and obviously it's a situation where, like I mentioned earlier, Billy knew so many of us who are down, at the, in the trenches, right? Those of us who are in uniform and the rest of the surrounding employees that are part of the team. And he brought his own personality down here, and it was a nice feel. It really was. And we did a couple things to the roster that he thought would help us. We gave him our ideas on the roster, and we let him sort of watch And we also made recommendations on certain players, whether to be patient with certain guys, whether to maybe make a couple moves from AAA to the big leagues. I mean, all these things we talked about, and he was very, very open-minded. And he was, maybe just his presence was, a part of, how we sort of turned things around from, late May, early June to where we are now. So, or it might have been just, we played better because we didn't play that well the first couple months, but I think his presence did help us because again, he's a good baseball man. He sees the game with, I think, traditional values and standards. But yet there's a creative side to Billy as well that's progressive and forward thinking. So, that's been all part of, I think, is what has made him get to this point. And maybe, Dick and his conversations probably were much different than what they were when Billy was the scouting director, right? I mean, they had to talk about different things. And maybe, that, sort of maybe opened up Dick's eyes to, that Billy could, take on this challenge. So, but he's been here every step of the way when we started playing better, right around the 1st of June.
I have to ask this question, but I think your contract runs through 2022, and you're obviously part of this organization that's kind of pulled things together. Are you looking, and is it important to maybe extend your commitment to make sure that, you're a part of this thing going forward?
Thomas, I'm worried about Zach Gallen tonight. I'm worried about the Diamondbacks. I'm worried about Sensatella, giving us a good start. Who's available in our bullpen? That's what I'm thinking about, Thomas. I'm not thinking about next year. I'm not thinking about beyond. That will happen at a certain time. But I thank you for some of those comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evan Henry?
Buddy, I guess I need to ask, are you thinking about Chi Gonzalez at all? And
I will.
why?
I will think about Chi if we get to that point where we're making decisions out of our bullpen and the type of game that we're in and whether this suits Chi. But yes, Chi's back on the roster. He's healthy. He threw an inning that I observed on Thursday over at the complex. We felt as though let's get a little bit more reinforcement for our bullpen, especially for a game tomorrow where it looks like we're going to use a bullpen game. But it's good to see Chi back healthy so he can go into the offseason feeling good about his health status.
And then with Peter being optioned, I'm assuming his season is probably over.
Yes.
And just wondering kind of what you saw from him in that very limited time that kind of gives you thoughts about what next year might bring.
Yeah. First of all, you want the player, in this case, Peter, to feel really confident mentally about his physical status. And I think that was accomplished. I think Peter, from our conversations, feels really good about where he is as it relates to the elbow. Secondly, I wanted that to occur, which it did. And I also wanted to see his stuff. I wanted to see the fastball, curveball, slider change. And if those came back to, Peter Lambert norms, which I think they did, and maybe a little bit ticking up on the velocity on the fastball. So that's a good thing. But, in our opinion, his stuff's going to play in the big leagues. His repertoire pitches, his pitch mix, they're legit. The fastball is going to be, solid average velocity on a scouting scale. It got above average change, probably his best pitch. I like his curveball. I like his slider. But there's some things that Peter needs to clean up and work on, a couple things with his delivery, but he's in a good spot. He really is. This should be a good winter for him. Obviously the last couple winters, he's been a little banged up and and not going through a normal offseason, but this offseason he should come into spring training ready to compete for a job, and see what he can do, next March as we go through spring training. But it's good to have him back and healthy, because he's going to, contribute to Rockies wins in the next number of years.
And one quick follow-up, just a housekeeping. Does that option count for
No.
Peterson's? Okay.
No, because I think if I know the basic agreement, if you got to be down more than 20 days for that for the option to count against your 3 options of being sent to the minors.
Thanks, buddy.
Same thing with Ryan Valade, which happened with Ryan.
Patrick Saunders.
For you, one about Billschmidt, and then a current baseball question. You've been around this game a long time. You've seen it evolve. In some ways, Billy's kind of a throwback. A lot of the young GMs around baseball now are new, younger, analytical guys, for good and for bad. How do you think Billschmidt fits well being an old school guy for this particular team in this era?
I think he's going to be fine. I think you look around and you look at general managers around the game. I think you're going to see all types of general managers. And when you say that, Patrick, if you look at a lot of the younger general managers, and some of them might be more analytically based and that type of philosophy than others. But if you look around at that maybe particular front office, you'll find some older seasoned baseball men, behind the scenes with that young analytical general manager. And I think conversely, I think you will see some of the older GMs, we'll count Smitty, Dave Dombrowski, Sandy Alderson, who's in charge of baseball operations in New York. You'll see those fellas also surrounded by young, analytical, young executives in their front office. So I think you see, even though somebody might be the point man and somebody might, have that title, these front offices, I think, are really well balanced in, experienced, wisdom type guys, and also young creative guys. I know that, we're going through a period right now, and I don't know how much of it's public, but our research and development team, our analytic team, is growing, is almost by the day. We're hiring some people, and these people will help Billy. He'll be surrounded by a number of creative, analytical based employees in our front office. So, what I'm saying? There's even though everybody sort of focuses on the GM, the manager, the owner, but there's a lot of people around all of us who help us, give us advice, give us recommendations, creative ideas. All those things are in play. And I think that's the case with all 30 teams. Make sense?
I think that Thomas, Billy's communication skills and team building, et cetera, are one of his strengths. I think you'd agree with that, correct?
Yeah. I think when you're a scouting director, like Billy has been, and you have scouts all over the country, and you have your, to your bird dog scouts, to your area scouts, to your regional cross checkers, to your national cross checkers. I mean, the leadership skills of handling that big of a group, has to be solid. And you have to be a great listener. You have to, be able to process, information. I mean, that's a big gig when you're the scouting director, because you have all your guys spread out all over the country. You're taking phone calls all the time. You're exchanging emails. This position is not unlike that, because he's, changing from having all those scouts. Now he's got, me, the big league team, everybody who's around us on a daily basis. He's got player development, but again, I mean, Billy, Billy is not afraid to pick up the phone and go old school and call people and talk about baseball. And I think that's a strength to do that, right? And not, do a lot. I mean, he texts, he emails, no doubt about it. But for me, there's nothing more practical and sound than, an old school conversation live, whether it's over the phone or in person.
Buddy. Charlie Blackmon made a play last night in right field where he ran down the ball barehanded on one hop and made a strong throw in the infield. I don't think we've talked much about Charlie's defense this year. He's way up near the top of the list in assists. From my perspective, he's covered ground well. Can you comment on the defense you've seen from Charlie Blackmon this year in right?
Yeah, let's start with the arm. The arm strength, and I know Charlie, works on it, but for whatever reason, maybe better question for Charlie, but the arm has been really, really good this year as far as strength to the throw, carry, and accuracy. I mean, it's been impressive. And I still think that, Charlie, he's a studier. He and Ron Gideon, as far as positioning, along with our analytic team about, where we're playing the opponents. Charlie's locked in on that. And also the instinct part of playing defense, looking at the count, looking at who's pitching, looking at the hitter, maybe a last second peek to see where the catcher's setting up, where the ball is going to be intended to be thrown. All those things, he's a smart player. And also, Charlie keeps himself in great shape, right? I mean, even though, he is where he is age-wise, his breaks and reads and first step reaction are all pretty solid. So it doesn't surprise me that he's having a good year, because he puts the work in. And, and the arm, though, is something that I don't want to say it's surprising, but it's a little bit better than, the last couple of years for whatever reason. Maybe a better question for him.
All right, we'll finish up with Owen Perkins.
Hey, buddy. Just wanted to ask one more question about Billy, and I think you've touched on it, but can you kind of put your finger on what specifically about him makes him uniquely qualified to lead the team, transition them back to perennial contention at this stage in the process?
I don't think there's anything unique about Billy. I think probably the strength of Billy is his well-roundedness of baseball knowledge, his instinctual feel for players, and his ability to talk the game to specific areas, whether it's to the medical staff, whether it's to me and the major league coaches, whether to the players themselves. Obviously has a relationship with Dick and Greg and people in our organization. So, that is all pretty seamless, but I think it goes down to, you look at teams that do well. It's a pretty basic understanding of baseball and what works. And I think, Billy understands that you have to pitch first and foremost, I think, to have a chance. He understands the importance of pitching. I think he understands, hitters. I think he's been, great in the draft with our hitters. So I think as far as, maybe going after certain players in free agency, going after certain players in trade negotiations, picking up 6-year free agents, minor league players. He has seen probably, all these players or most players who are in the big leagues at one time or another over, the last 10 or 15 years. Whether it's, he probably saw Max Scherzer pitch, probably liked him, probably, couldn't have drafted him. I'm not sure, but I think his just basic knowledge of the game and traditionally what works, I think, Billy understands that. So I think that's, well, I don't think if that's unique or not, I'm not sure, but he brings for me, I think he's going to bring a real collaborative effort to this organization where everybody is connected, everybody's on the same page, everybody's striving for the same goal.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys.
Thanks, everyone.